Hello and welcome to Bookworms. It's our final episode ever of this season. None of that is true. This is actually the penultimate episode of the season, but the final book of the season. And we are excited to be here because this is the show where we read books and talk about those books. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Joe.
And how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing swell, Alex. A little cold. I was outside when it's kind of snowy outside, so yeah.
Yeah, we are recording this 2 days after Thanksgiving, and it snowed all day yesterday.
It did, and I was outside for a good chunk of it.
Oh, that was a personal choice.
Deer aren't going to kill themselves.
Yeah. I stayed inside most of the day, so that was really nice.
Yeah, we were supposed to record this yesterday, but you were not here, so I don't know what the hell was going on with that. You had promised me to be here, and then I had texted you want to record at 9 o'clock at night? I was like, no, I'm going to be in bed, Alex, because I'm old.
Yeah, you are old. You should be young like me.
And I've been up since 4 a.m.
Again, that's a personal choice. I got up at like 10. It was great.
Yeah, you sleep a lot. Did you know that?
I do, yes.
It's amazing since I've seen you quite a bit recently how much you actually sleep during the day. Yeah, I'm a little worried about you, Alex.
I don't sleep a lot during work weeks and stuff like that. So
Sounds like a personal choice.
Yeah, this is my catch-up time. I'm actually probably going to take a nap after this.
Lame.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, this is our final book of the season. And
this was my pick.
Picked a doozy.
Yeah, I did. So as we had said before, we had both read this book already. I think you had actually given me this book originally to read.
Yes.
And I really liked it. I have recently, because I've been watching a lot more YouTube and listening to a lot more podcasts on people that talk about books, just to get a kind of idea about how other people are doing this, try to up our game a little bit. And apparently this book is very popular on YouTube.
Well, yeah, it's a masterpiece. It makes sense.
I mean, I guess, while I don't disagree, I guess when I originally read this book and usually think about it, it's not really up there on the list of best sci-fi for me.
I mean, I can see what you're saying there, but no, it's one of, I'd say, 3 Dan Simmons books that are, I guess,
readable.
No, I said this last episode. It's like this is like the Hyperion cantos are his like one truly great contribution to literature, and especially the first 3 books. And so like I don't know, it's just it's always stuck with me. Clearly it stuck with you because you chose it for a book. And I would highly recommend this to literally anybody. The classical storytelling mixed with really high concept sci-fi. It works really well.
Yeah, so we read Hyperion by Dan Simmons, as Alex just alluded to. And it's one of those books, it is definitely high concept, high octane. It hits all the right spots for a science fiction lover. As I said, it just, usually when I think science fiction, I think Frank Herbert, obviously, Isaac Asimov, and Ian M. Banks. Those are like my big 3. And, there's a lot of other ones, like obviously Douglas Adams, and I'm blanking on a few others here, but that were really big back in the golden age of science fiction, though.
Yeah, I would say the 80s into like the early 90s was that golden age.
Golden age is like the 50s and 60s, Alex.
No, I think that's when it was like coming out. Like that's when it was being developed.
That's when it was considered the golden age. If you listen to the people that are science fiction nerds, the Isaac Asimov era to the Frank Herbert era was the golden age, and then after that it kind of petered out.
Oh. Yeah, see, I disagree. I really enjoyed sci-fi from the 80s and 90s.
So the 80s and 90s science fiction had a resurgency. So that's
almost like a renaissance. Okay, so golden age and renaissance.
So that's, and then we're kind of in another possible beginnings of another renaissance of the science fiction coming out now, though.
The
Hugo has shown that there's a lot of slop out there, in my opinion. But there's also been a lot of really good high level stuff. Like I haven't read it, but the 3-body problem I hear is
that's quite good.
Quite good, though different from the show. Very different from the show.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ever since we read what's that book that we read?
Some Desperate Glory.
Ever since we read Some Desperate Glory, I'm slowly making my way through the nominees from that year. There's been one good one so far, and I've only read like 2 or 3 of them so far, but we both agreed Some Desperate Glory, without having read the other nominees, should not have won the Hugo. I would say so far that one of the books I chose for next year is going to be my front runner. I have another one in my pile of to be read over there, but yeah, there's a lot of slop out there that's being elevated, and I'm not a fan.
But yeah, so let's get into Hyperion. I'll read the back real quick.
Yeah, this book came out in 1987, by the way. Or is it 89? One or the other. I think
know.
his first book came out in 87. This is his second book.
First book ever published, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, his Song of Kali was his first book, and Hyperion was his second book.
I wasn't sure if he had one of his more fiction books instead of science fiction books that came out before this.
Yeah, it came out in 89. So this book is as old as I am.
Yeah, you are getting pretty old, Alex. You're up there.
Oh, yeah.
So, back of the book. On the world called Hyperion, beyond the law of the hegemony of man, there waits the creature called the Shrike. There are those who worship it. There are those who fear it. And there are those who have vowed to destroy it. In the valley of the time tombs, where huge brooding structures move backward through time, the Shrike waits for them all. On the eve of Armageddon, with the entire galaxy at war, 7 pilgrims set forth on a final voyage to Hyperion, seeking the answers to the unsolved riddles of their lives. Each carries a desperate hope and a terrible secret, and one may hold the fate of humanity in his hands. A stunning tour de force filled with transcendent awe and wonder, Hyperion is a masterwork of science fiction that resonates with excitement and invention. The first volume in a remarkable new science fiction epic by the multi-award-winning author of The Hollow Man.
Yeah, so it's funny. They say it's like this like new and bold and creative, but he's utilizing a lot of, like I said, classical storytelling techniques. The story's structured the same way the Canterbury Tales is structured, where it's like they're on a pilgrimage and everyone's sharing their stories. And it's a really cool way for Dan Simmons to flex his storytelling prowess, because he gets to utilize like every story within the story is told in a different style, which is just really cool and helps with the readability of the book. I know it took me a month to read it, but it's because it's high concept sci-fi, and even on the second read, I'm like, what the hell is going on sometimes? But
yeah, and he's also very big into Keats. John Keats, as we'll quickly discover.
Yeah.
So
if you know anything about Keats, Hyperion, it's kind of a dead giveaway.
Yeah, so we basically, between these two ancient writers, we get a modern science fiction novel.
Which, if you are a Dan Simmons reader, like I guess we both are, we've both read multiple Dan Simmons books.
Yeah, I've read this whole series and a couple of his other books.
Yeah. Keats has played largely into his entire career. He is in love with John Keats.
Do you remember that really bad book he wrote, Flashback?
Flashback, yes, which is referenced heavily in this book.
It is. I was going to say, I'm reading it because I read this book before I read Flashback, which probably was the reason why I continued reading it, because if I had read Flashback first, I would have said, yeah, I'm good with Dan Simmons.
Yeah, Flashback is not, like, that's one of those books where it's like the first 300 pages is excellent, and then all of a sudden, like, it came out during the Obama era, and he just goes on this massive, like, 100-page political scree halfway through the book, and you're like, what the hell is going on here?
I mean, it wasn't even that great for the first 300 pages. It was okay, but you could tell he didn't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, it's like a take a flashback pause here. It's a thriller, a sci-fi thriller, set around this drug flashback, which people are addicted to, and it makes you like relive your times in your life, and there's like a murder and stuff, so that's got to get solved. But yeah, it sounds like a very basic thing for sci-fi. Could have been like 500 pages, 400 pages, but no, it's 600 pages, and most of it is political drivel. That's very dated now.
It should have been a sci-fi noir type story.
Yeah, that's how it started out. It was great.
And as we were discussing before we went on air, noir should be shorter, on the shorter side, like 300 to 400 pages, not 600.
Yeah, I think like your Mike Hammers and stuff like that. Very old school style storytelling where it's very hard boiled and.
Sam Slade.
Sam Slade. Perfect. Or Sam Spade, I guess his name is.
Sam Spade, yeah.
Sam Slade. My goodness. We both made that mistake. We got to leave it in now.
Yeah, good thing I'm editing. So anyway, let's get back to Hyperion. We're Guild on the Lily here, falling off the track.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a story about the end of the world, but we get a very small segment of this end of the world, where we start off on a spaceship with what's his name?
The Consul.
The Consul, yes, and he is talking to the president of the world, or the CEO of the world.
Yeah,
so basically the universe is run by a giant corporation style government.
Yeah, the hegemony of man. So if you've ever watched, I was making immediate Firefly connections. I'm like, this is the exact same plot of Firefly. There's a interconnected interplanetary connection where they're all governed by a single domineering government. Then you got the outskirt planets that are not part of that, but they're trying, the hegemony is trying to control them. They're called the Ousters. And there's always been tension and rivalry between the Ousters and the hegemony, and they're at the brink of war now.
You have a little bit misconstrued here. So the inner worlds, which is a hegemony, and they're all connected by these gates where you can travel to worlds instantaneously.
Yeah,
Farcasting. Then you have the outer worlds that you have to take a time debt to get to, which basically you're flying near to light speed to get to these planets. So, and this is where the hardish science fiction comes in, where to get to these planets, it'll take you 2 weeks, but it's, say, 2 years of everyone else's lives.
Yeah,
so
if you've seen Interstellar, you kind of get the idea. Where,
you
don't age, but everyone back home does.
Yeah, so, and again, this follows known physics, especially at that time, on how space travel would work. And then you have the Ousters, who are people that live in between planets. They don't actually live on planets. They're a branch of humanity that broke off, kind of more like the what's the in Firefly, or the bad guy, the
Reavers.
The Reavers.
They're not as feral as the Reavers.
Yeah, they're not feral like the Reavers. They're an actual government, but they don't live on a planet. They live traveling in between the stars, and
they're like a nomadic people.
Yeah, and there's no real centralized government that is known of by the hegemony, and they're kind of, again, the boogeyman of the series. A good, probably a better comparison than Firefly would be, what's that? They had a TV series on it, based off a book series. Is it Caliban? No, that's a later book. Hold on. This will be edited out.
Google search. Just doing a Google search.
It's not going to be a Google search. This is going to be a Goodreads search. The Expanse. By James S.A. Corey, which is actually two writers. But the first book is Leviathan Wakes, and in that book you have the Martian Federation, you have the Earth, which is kind of hegemony, and then you have the people living on the asteroids that are basically mining whatever rare minerals and water that they can, but they're their own thing. So the Ousters are kind of like the people living on the asteroid belt.
Yeah, and I know all of our listeners are listening to this and wondering how we've ever
talk to a girl.
Yeah, talk to a girl. But yeah, so
yes, I am a sci-fi nerd. I like my sci-fi.
But yeah, Hyperion. Yeah, so there's all this background. They're on the brink of war. And the Ousters at war with the hegemony, and there's 7 people going on a pilgrimage to the Shrike Temple, as it says in the back of the book, where they each have their own specific goal related to this mythical creature called the Shrike.
Yeah, so the Consul is talking to the CEO of the hegemony,
Maina Gladstone.
Yeah, and he's being filled in on who the different people that he's going to be with on this pilgrimage. And he's told that there's a Ouster spy among you. And we're told that it could even be him. But we kind of get the idea that it probably isn't, though.
Yeah, he seems to be the most loyal to the hegemony at first.
Yeah, but so he goes to one of those tree ships that were really big in the 80s. And,
the Yggdrasil, which if you've read Paul Plimpton versus Ragnarok, you would know as the Norse Tree of Life.
Thank you, Alex.
Yes, of course.
Anyways, so I don't know if you watched a lot of those 80s and 90s anime science fiction shows.
You lost me at anime, but go on.
So that the tree ships were a very big thing back then.
That was a really big theme.
Yeah, and so this is brought out here, and that's what they're gonna all fly on to Hyperion, and we get to meet the other 6 pilgrims. Yep. We have a Catholic priest.
Yep, Father Hoyt.
We have a poet.
Yeah, Martin Silenis.
We have a colonel.
Yes, Colonel Fedman Kassad.
We have a private detective.
It's Bron Lamia, who's the only female aboard, which is pointed out.
We have a Jewish individual.
It's Saul Weintraub.
With his infant daughter.
Yes, Rachel.
And we have the captain of the ship.
It's Het Mastine.
I believe that is everybody.
Yes.
Okay. And so they're all going to go down, and they're going to, as they're evacuating Hyperion, because it is about to be attacked, and the ousters are known to just destroy everything in their wake. Apparently, we don't know that why, but we know that that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, a lot of the so like the story's told in a series of stories within stories. There's only like 40 pages of throughout this almost 500-page book. It's about 40 pages of present time story.
Yeah, it's a relatively short, boring trip. Essentially, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, there's every time it pauses, they have a little hiccup in their adventure, but it's really like you can just kind of read the backstories, and it's so well written that it pushes the story along way better than the actual linear storytelling within each story. Yeah,
so they go down to the planet after paying this time debt, and they go down to the main city, which one is that? What's their main city there?
I was focused on remembering the characters' names.
Okay. They go down to the main city, and it's just total chaos. You have the local defense forces basically becoming the looters and gang thuggery type stuff. You have the people just trying to take any ship to get off. You have the guy that runs the place that's like, hey, help me get control over this place to the consul, because the consul used to be the runner of the planet, the leader of the planet for the hegemony. Consul's like, no. But meanwhile, they're just saying, hey, we got this super long journey. Let's everyone tell their story. And there's some pushback. People don't want to say, but finally they're like, the soul is just like, we got nothing better to do.
Yeah,
we might as well get to know each other. And the consul's kind of for it, even though he doesn't want to give his story, but he's like, I was told to find the spy, so maybe I can find something worth knowing. And also the strike, they're going to the strike because the strike will grant wishes. They're not really sure how they grant wishes or what kind of wishes, but so the strike church always sends groups of 7 for pilgrimages to the strike, and either everybody dies or one person lives and they get whatever they wish for.
Yeah, so this is like a last desperate attempt to get what they need in their lives.
Yeah. So, and these people all we find out have a connection with the strike, previous connection, and while they're supposed to go to the strike to kind of assume to, at least for the consul, get rid of the ousters.
Yeah, to somehow or another put an end to the war that's just broken out.
Everyone's got their own selfish reasons.
Yeah, and we start with Father Hoyt's story, which has almost nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Because he starts talking about one of his mentors.
Yeah, he reads a diary of the guy that brought him into the priesthood.
Yeah, a Father Paul Dure, which another sci-fi book where there's a character named Paul.
Yes.
Yes, it's a very common sci-fi name, which is strange.
Well, you had to laugh. You get all these science fiction and fantasy books where you have unpronounceable names, and in science fiction, there's a lot of X, Y's, and Z's in those names. The most famous, well-known science fiction character is Paul.
Paul Atreides. Yeah.
So for all those science fiction writers, take note, please. You don't need some extravagant, impossible to pronounce name.
I always like it when it's like spelled weird, but it just says like a common name.
I hate that even more.
Yeah, I think was it the Peter Brett series, the Warden Man. They all just had regular names, but he just spelled them weird.
Yeah,
there was like JEPH for Jeff.
Yeah, that was just no, just no. Anyway, so yeah, we get to Paul and
Father Dure.
Father Dure, and
which he's on a Heart of Darkness style trip down a river to discover a foreign
he's
species of man.
Yeah, he's in disgrace. He's leaving the priesthood in disgrace. We're not really sure why, but he's lost his faith. So he's going to Hyperion as an kind of an exile, but he's like, hey, I heard there's this group of people that are hidden on this planet, and I'm going to go convert them, damn it, or at least study them and be armchair archaeologist. And so he goes out, has to go through this crazy forest where they're called Tesla trees, and basically they're so rich with iron that they just let out lightning, and then the whole area burns for like 6 or 8 months out of the year.
Yeah, so he kind of gets through that in the off season, but then gets trapped.
Yeah, he gets there right when it's supposed to start picking up. His guide is murdered right before they finish getting through it, but he is spared. He doesn't know why, and he's slowly searching the area, you're aimlessly wandering because he doesn't really know what to do. And then the people finally show themselves to him, and they say, "We spared you because you are of the cruciform."
Yeah, he's wearing a crucifix on his shirt, or a crucifix necklace, and it matches a almost like symbiote that's growing on these people.
Which he doesn't realize, right? Well, I guess he does realize pretty quickly because they're basically naked, dumb people that barely talk. They're bald, hairless. They're completely hairless. Basically wear loincloths, wander aimlessly, don't really do much other than bare necessities to survive, which they can survive fairly easy.
Yeah, he slowly, like, he's trapped there for a number of months, and so he commits to studying them, but he also, like, the more time he spends there, the more desperate he is to leave because he can't stand these people, and there's clearly something off about them, and he has no real connection to them. It's just, it builds out almost like a horror story.
There's a lot of horror elements weaved into the stories here.
Yes. And so, yeah, it's like, he's tracking the days and stuff, and he's learning more and more about them. He finds out they don't have sexual organs. He finds out that they can't die. If they do die, they are somehow resurrected. And then
and they have a special name because there's a certain amount of them, and they're all confused because he, having a cruciform on, screws up their number. I forget, it was like 81 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a small number, but yeah, they're basically this cult that worships the Shrike.
Yeah, and basically what happened was they were a drop ship that was supposed to have settlers for the planet. It crash landed, they got stuck there, and then they found these life forms in a cave, as we find out, that make them immortal, but every time they die, they lose more of themselves, and they just become dumber and dumber blobs of flesh, essentially.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's a million. I feel like this book could influence a million different sci-fi stories. Though Body Snatchers came before, but yeah, they have a symbiote living within them that keeps them alive, but it's slowly taking over. And every time they die, like, the symbiote takes over a little more, and they become more and more. It's like less human and more of that creature inside of them that's been taking over. And
basically, as Father Dure gets it attached to him eventually, because he makes the mistake of bathing naked in front of them, and they realize he doesn't actually have anything attached to him, so they freak out and debate whether to kill him and he convinces them, "No, I need what you have on you." And that's when he discovers that the Shrike, they worship the Shrike. They put this cruciform creature on him, and he studies it and realizes that it sent tentacles all throughout his body, and it's basically is impossible to get off of him. It's all the way up into his brain, his spine, his limbs. Basically, it is part of him now. And so he realizes eventually he will turn into what these people are, unable to ever die, and that terrifies him more than actually dying. And he goes crazy.
Yeah, he attempts many escapes, but the thing does not want him to leave that area. So every time he tries to flee into the fire forest, it causes him excruciating pain. And also the other cult members are onto him, and they keep catching him and escorting him back.
They're all connected somehow. Like they had one of the people died at one point, and no one knew where he was until the body was so decomposed that the cruciform fell off of whatever thing it was stuck on, and they were able to find that, and they stuck it on another person. So they had two until they died, and then it created two individuals again.
Yeah, it's weird, like, growing out of somebody. But yeah, the diary entries just end abruptly, and then Father Hoyt ends his story, say, like, that's all there is. But the consul's onto him, and later on he catches Father Hoyt, like, profusely sweating, clearly in a lot of pain, and
trying to take it, basically a morphine hit.
Yeah, and he withholds the morphine hit until he hears the rest of the story, and he finds out that Father Hoyt had gone on a rescue mission to rescue Father Dure, finds him impaled on a tree.
Yeah, he impaled himself in the form of a cross on a tree with iron rods, where he was being brought back to life every day and then killed every night.
Yeah, basically Prometheus.
Yeah,
almost. But he so he finds this, and then Father Hoyt finds a way for him to die the true death. But in the process, he inherits the thing.
It's also implied that Hoyt has one for himself, too.
Yeah, so he's carrying two, and he's away from the cult area, so he's living just a life of extreme pain, and it's getting worse and worse every day, so his actual reason to go to the Shrike Temple is to relieve the pain.
Yeah, it's to actually die. He wants a true death. He doesn't want to be brought back after reading the diary and seeing what happened to his friend. He's like, we just want this done. These cruciforms need to be destroyed. So yeah, that's story number 1. Very cheery.
Yeah, it's good times. Honestly, like going into just opinion, like that's probably the hardest part to get through. That part took me a long time to read. It's just, like Duray doesn't really get mentioned again for the rest of the book, and he kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, this story has probably the least to do for the whole topic. It's just introducing the world.
Yeah,
it's introducing the
great
Shrike.
world building.
Yeah, it's a very clever way to basically world build an info dump. Is essentially what's happening here. So we get a bunch of unrelated characters that are just able to give us, this is how the world works, without just listing out how the world works. So that's what kind of, so we have this really strange world where the laws of physics don't quite make sense as we know them. There's this weird thing called the Shrike that has worshippers all across the planet for different reasons. And and that's basically this story. We get a little background of Hyperion.
Yeah, which quick description of the Shrike, I think we skipped that. He's this 9-foot tall, just giant metal monolith that is not a monolith, but a monstrosity that's just out, like every part of him is jagged and spiked.
Think of Game of Thrones throne with all the blades sticking out of it, except in human form.
Yeah, basically.
It's just this giant multi-bladed creature.
It's nobody really knows its true purpose, but they all, I don't know, kind of similar to any religion. You just have faith in what you believe, and we kind of apply it towards that. So some think he's a great savior, some think he's a great destructor. People love him, people fear him, usually all at once.
So let's get into the story number 2.
Yes, that is Fedman Cassad's. He is a soldier of the hegemony, and so this kind of his story covers his basic training through his becoming a major name within the military.
Yeah, so we already kind of know that he's got the nickname. What was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember the nickname, but he's a great conqueror.
Yeah, he's considered a butcher, essentially, where he just slaughters thousands or millions of people without remorse.
Yeah, he's known for not giving quarter to any enemies of the hegemony.
Yeah. Any enemies and sometimes even allies.
Yeah, he's a very cruel, militaristic person, but we kind of get to know him and how he got to that point within his career. And
yeah, so we start off, he's living on the streets of some world as a hoodlum and basically barely surviving until he gets picked up and told you can either go to jail or you can join the army.
Yep, and then it cuts to him in basic training. He's doing some simulated battles, and out of nowhere comes a
gorgeous babe of a woman.
Gorgeous babe of a woman helps him kill all of his opponents, and then
and he's fighting historical battles. It's like this simulation where they go back, and it's just kind of this weird thing. I was like, it doesn't make a lot of sense other than just to kind of give a history lesson more than anything, because the tactics are going to be totally different for what he's going to be going to eventually. But it's like he's fighting these historic Earth battles, and we know that Earth is something's happened to Earth.
Yeah, something called the with a capital M, the mistake.
Yeah, but we don't know what. But Earth is basically gone as far as we know, and but he's fighting this like 18th century style battle.
Yeah, something like Napoleonic almost.
Yeah, because I forget exactly which one it was. They mentioned it, but it said it doesn't make sense for what he's going to end up being fighting in wise, but he's in it. He gets separated from his forces, realizes he got himself in a pickle. This girl comes in, saves his butt, and they have a big sex scene.
Yeah, it's a very graphic sex. Dan Simmons loves talking about sex, by the way. It's in almost every single book. There's graphic depictions of sex. It sells, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
he had a long career.
Honestly, this sex scene, having read other sex scenes from other authors, it's actually well done. It's just not like it's nothing over the top. Yeah, it's graphic, but it's not. It's kind of tame and tasteful at the same time. What you read for a lot of these smut books that people are reading lately.
Yeah, he does physical love very well. I think when we first read The Rise of Endymion, the final book of the series, my comment about like him doing romantic love, trying to write about that, it was very George Lucas-y, where it's just really ham-fisted and shitty. That like really took me out of the final book. That's why I always say it's not as good as the first three. Because
I don't remember much of that, so that probably says a lot. Maybe not, because there's a lot of books I've read that I enjoy that I don't remember much of. But yeah, everything I've read or seen since it says, everyone says, yeah, that book is just bad.
Yeah, it's he definitely fumbles at the end.
Yeah, he hits a grand slam on the first one.
First three are just excellent.
Well, it was everyone. Writing. The way people say is he hits basically a grand slam on the first one, hits a single home run on the second one, hits a solid double on the third one, and then swings so hard he breaks his own spine on the fourth one.
He breaks his own spine, bat flies out of his hands, hits someone in the stands.
Kills them. So
yeah. No, I'd say like the first three I'd give like 5 stars to all three, but the third one's like 3 stars. It closes out the series, but it's 700 pages. That should have been a 500-page book, and it's not.
He does that a lot.
Yeah.
So this book is actually almost feels too short for what you're reading.
Yeah, because you're character building out 7 characters. Well, 6 we find out, but your character building 6 characters and 500 pages. Like
yeah, this book is just under 500 pages, and you're like, yeah, you could have easily done another 200 pages and been probably still a fast-paced good book.
Yeah, you could have had more like in the without the flashback stories, like. More of that, and like it would have carried out more. But anyway,
so
Kassad is
Kassad becomes obsessed with this girl who's basically she's not part of the system, and he's like, this is a simulation in a computer system. How did she just break into the hegemony's most top secret, highly secured military system, and just nobody even has a record of her? He just kind of nobody even knows what he was doing, even though it should all be recorded. But nobody seems too worried about it. So he just keeps going with training, and as his career progresses, he keeps meeting up with this strange woman. And never says anything, but sleeps with him.
Yeah, she never talks. They just have sex, and he's
after killing a lot of people.
Yeah, he's increasingly obsessing over her because she's this great mystery, and he feels this total connection with her. And like he doesn't even know her name though. Yeah.
So he eventually gets into a military career, and we find out that there's a rebellion on one of the planets that don't want their Farcasters put in because, well, they're just backwards people, apparently, according to him. And he goes there and slaughters them quite brutally.
Yeah, and he starts becoming the Butcher.
Yeah, and then the Ousters start attacking planets and kicking butt and taking name, and he goes down there and fights his brutal way that he fights, where his take no prisoners, destroy anything in your sight by whatever means, and he does a number on them. But he gets badly wounded.
Yeah, he's got the full force and the backing of the hegemony, so he can literally just steamroll planets.
And the force is all capital force, and that's the branch of the hegemony. That's the army. Yeah, that's what they call their armies, the force.
Yeah, use the force.
Anyways, so he gets badly wounded. They put him on a transport ship to bring him to Hyperion to recovery, and then because the Hyperion is going to be then another jumping point to another back into the hegemony and Farcasters, and they can redeploy him where needed. But his ship gets attacked by Ousters, and he's awoken before he is able to get back before he's fully healed. The ship is totally destroyed, but he's able to cobble together enough life support to survive until they send a strike force. The Ousters send a strike force to make sure everyone's dead and steal whatever they want to steal. And he starts battling those strange creatures. And that's when we get our first look of Ousters, where these basically long, tall, very alien to us beings.
Yeah, they're not affected by gravity, so they grow super tall.
Yeah. Which, again, this is more the fantasy of the science fiction of it, where if you're growing in no gravity, your bones don't form. But it's a nice way to do it. But
yeah, sometimes you just can't let the truth get in the way of good stories.
Yeah. And we find out in later books that they do have a form of gravity. It's just not nearly as strong as or as consistent as Earth's.
Exactly. And during that battle, I believe that's when the girl shows up again.
Yeah, because they crash down to the time tombs in Hyperion, which are supposed to be off limits to all beings, and the ousters send down a strike force, and this girl, the Shrike, and Cassad butcher, by jumping, speeding up and slowing down time to kill all the ouster special forces.
Yeah, supposedly the time tombs are aging backwards.
Yeah,
so they have this weird control
that's where we
over
find
time.
that about that. So we find out that the Shrike can control time, and this is kind of where I was getting a little confused, because if the Shrike and we find out the girl are traveling backwards through time, how does it look like they're moving forward in time when say me or you would see them?
It's a weird thing because like we learned with Saul's story with Rachel, like they age forward in time until they fall asleep and then they lose a day, kind of deal.
Yeah, it's just this weird. But it said they're also changing the speed of time in this battle with Cassad and the ousters.
And I think that's just part of the Shrike's mystery, like how is he doing this? Yeah. But we also, in the process, learn that the woman's name is Moneda.
Yep.
And like they go to have sex again, Moneda and Cassad, and she like in the process like transforms into the Shrike, and he like freaks out. I don't know if it's unclear whether it's like a hallucination from his injuries or if she's actually doing this, but like he freaks out, he escapes, and we find out his plan or his desire to go on this pilgrimage is to kill the Shrike.
Yes, because he wants to save the girl and bring her home with him because he's still obsessed with her.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
But so he's brought on some heavy weaponry to do battle because that's just what he does. So that's his story.
Yeah. And,
story number 3.
Yeah, story number 3, we get the poet's story, Martin Silenis.
And we find out he is ancient.
He is ancient. He's also he's had a weird surgery, so he's half satyr. So he's got.
He was half satyr. He got turned back to full human.
Oh, okay, it grew back.
Yeah. So basically, his story is he's from Old Earth, which has been gone for like 500 years.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, dude, he should be totally insane because these age enhancing tools we have now, can bring you up to like 200 years old. But after that, you go insane and you're so fragile anyways, you just float over.
He's been utilizing things like cryogenic freezing to age him.
We also find out that he has a major time debt too, because he's done a lot of traveling through the stars that way, through cryo largely. But he has like slower than light speed things where it took like 200 years to get to this one planet. So not only does he have a time debt, he was frozen for a long chunk of time. So it's and this is kind of the weird thing where, okay, what age is somebody really? Because he's like, I've been around as far as you people would be concerned, 500 years. I've only been alive for 300 years, kind of thing.
Yeah, and he's it's hard to sometimes tell what he's talking about because he's basically drunk for the entire book.
He's drunk and kind of insane. But we find out that he was one of the last people on Old Earth before it imploded through a mini black hole, where he was one of the wealthy aristocrats.
Yeah, he was a wildly successful poet.
Well, he wasn't wildly successful yet. He had a strange upbringing, strange education, where he was trained to become a classical poet, but basically he was not talented enough because he had lived such an easy life that he basically had nothing to write about. So as Earth gets destroyed, he finds out his mother had, because she thought it was the end of times, made massive debts that she had no plans of ever repaying. So he got enslaved and sent to another planet where he worked as a slave laborer, but this is the first time he got cryogenically frozen, and he came out with half his brain not working, and it was his frontal cortex.
Yeah.
So he went down to 11 words, which were all vulgar, and he worked in the mud pits of this planet, sulfury planet, for I forget how many years. It was like a decade, though. It
was a long time. He slowly got his words back.
Yeah, slowly got his words back, but as he would say, his poetry with 11 words became something of epic proportion on that planet.
Yeah, he's be like, fuck, shit, piss, motherfucker, shit, fuck, piss.
And so he eventually wins his freedom there, learns how to read and write and talk again, writes the most epic of all poems, something like a Shakespearean style poem or Homerian poem, and he goes to a publisher who hears of his story, they say, "This is amazing. We'll send it to our editor." Cuts out all the good bits of actual poetry and just leave it to his time on Earth.
Yeah, the part that chronicles old Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's titled The Hyperion Cantos.
Yeah, and he becomes the best-selling author of all human history.
Yeah, he sells something like 19 billion copies or something like that of his first book.
Yeah, so he tries writing a second book,
And it's
where he puts back in all the stuff they had cut out, plus his time on the mud planet.
Yeah,
and they say, "Yeah, we'll keep it because you made us a bucket load of money, but it's not going to sell anything."
Yeah, essentially, and he's like, "Oh, well, I mean, the first one sold 19 billion, yada yada. This one's gonna do great." And then it's generally considered his greatest. Like, he sees it as his greatest magnum opus.
Yeah.
His publisher's like, "This is the best thing that's ever been written in the history of man."
And they said,
tanks.
Yeah, and they said, "Yeah, this is we find out that the world is run by these AIs essentially, that a whole bunch of them." And they're like, "Yeah, we knew." They all say this is the greatest book that has ever been written by a human. And he says, "Well, how come that I didn't do well selling to them then?" It's like, "Oh, because they bought one copy and then illegally
they shared it.
Legally shared it to everybody." It's like that's just what they do, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. He's like, "Oh," and then he finds out that nobody actually read his first book. They just bought it because it was the book to buy to have on your bookshelf.
Yeah, it's like was it Finnegan's Wake? Like,
yeah,
nobody reads Finnegan's Wake.
I did.
Yeah, if you got a copy of it, it's just for clout.
Yeah.
He starts publishing sequels to the Hyperion Cantos,
which are just basically romantic garbage, but they're selling stupid well because he's got the name and he's a talented enough writer, but he realizes he's just putting out slop and he's just going around being a drunken celebrity fool.
Yeah, he basically turns into like Truman Capote. Just like he's got the hit book, so he's
got the hot wife.
Yeah, so he's got a house that's. Has Farcasters in it, so the house is built on like 19 planets.
Yeah,
and he's like got his joke where
his toilet's literally on a raft in the ocean.
Yeah,
of a water planet in the tropics.
Yeah, so he's a total libertine, and like he's complete self-obsessed. He's your standard view of what a poet might be. He's like Lord Byron. He's just self-absorbed and completely
miserable.
Yeah,
because he realizes he knows self-aware enough that he knows he's writing total junk, and he hates himself for it. So he goes to his publisher and says, "I'm done. I'm getting rid of everything. You can't have your hold over me. I know I'm still in debt because I spend money faster than I can bring it in, but I'm out." He goes to this one weird little planet where we have Sad King Billy.
Sad King Billy. Sad King Billy is like his biggest fan.
Yeah, who actually read his first book and second book, and we find out of the 33,000 copies that Martin actually sold of his second book, King Billy had bought 31 of those 1,000 copies to give to all of his subjects because he felt it was that important of a novel, of a poem that everyone needed to have read it.
Yeah, and so like even the first book where they took out all like the important bits and just made it about the time on Old Earth, like King Billy realized like this book feels like it's missing like its heart, and like that immediately endears him to Martin, and they become really close. Like essentially, Martin is the poet laureate of Sad King Billy's kingdom.
Yeah, basically we find out the history of, because we've heard of King Billy because he ends up going to Hyperion. So we know about him, a little bit about him before this, but we find out that the reason why he's called Sad King Billy is because he's just a strange human being. He's one of those awkward people that can't get out of their own way for everything. They'll avoid the pile of dog shit, stepping in the pile of dog shit just to trip and fall face first into a pile of horse shit kind of people.
Yeah, he's just an awkward dude. And he has no real close relationships.
Yeah, and he loves the arts. He absolutely loves it. He has a wicked bad stutter. So, but I forget what prompts it, but eventually he says, "We're taking the whole kingdom to this planet called Hyperion." And he transports like 50,000 artists because he's basically, if you're a famous artist of some sort, he wants you in his kingdom and he'll support you. So he brings all these people to Hyperion. He starts having these androids build a beautiful city called Hyperion. That's the poet's city. It's going to be where he's going to sponsor the arts. Any artist of any worth is welcome to his planet where he'll sponsor you to just make art. Well, the whole time, Martin is got a writer's block up the wazoo. Can't write anything. He's been writing slop and doing too many drugs for too long.
Yeah, he's kind of stuck.
So he realizes that he's worried that King Billy could just kind of kick him out at any day, and he's got nothing. He goes to Hyperion to follow his king because he's totally devoted to this guy. That's when he gets the satire body put on, and he just starts basically whoring himself around and being a just general clown and jerk, figuring he'll be the fool in the king's kingdom because he can't write. And suddenly people start mysteriously dying because we find out that the poet city is literally on the outskirts of the time tombs.
Yeah, and so poets are dying one by one. They're getting killed off.
Just artists in general.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, though, Martin has his muse comes back.
And he's writing furiously and always hardest when the next person has died. And rumors are flying around and people start suspecting him. Because remember, they don't know about the strike yet. This is still early on. We're hundreds of years still in the past. And he's writing like he's never written before. And it's the greatest thing he's ever written. They eventually have to abandon the city, and that's when they build Keats Town, I believe, which is that becomes the main city. And King Billy and all his subjects leave. King Billy eventually dies hairless, and basically goes back to the people that had originally settled the planet. But Martin is the last living person in his.
Well, King Billy doesn't die.
He doesn't die yet, but before
he will though.
He will. But Martin is the last person in this city that was built for the artists.
Yeah, all the other artists have been killed.
And he is suddenly stuck again because there's nobody left to die, and he can't get past his writer's block, and he's just aimlessly wandering around. Occasionally, people from other cities will come to visit to see the weird raving mad lunatic. King Billy finally comes to try to rescue his friend.
Yeah, so Martin comes home one day. King Billy's in there reading the unpublished manuscript,
and it's again the greatest thing that humans have ever written.
Yeah, and Billy starts pleading with Martin, like, leave with me. You're more important than what's being written. And then the Shrike shows up and kills Billy.
Yeah, and Martin is devastated. At the same time, King Billy is destroying the manuscript. So Martin's freaking out because he's like, you can't destroy it. This is the most important thing. Shrike kills King Billy. Martin is spared again, and he goes mad again. But he escapes, rewrites what had been destroyed, and...
Yeah, then he's stuck again, though.
Yeah, but he's stuck again, and he just he gets back his normal body and just kind of flies around, goes back into cryo sleep again.
Yeah, for like 200 to 300 years. Yeah. Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and then he gets reawoken and he's like, I need to finish this, and the best way to do that is his big wish is to either finish his story or be killed.
Yeah, that's his whole thing is like, I'm going here to get my muse back and the story must be told. That's what he keeps saying. Yeah.
Oh, so there's something that we forgot to mention during Kassad's story. So there's a tree in near the time tombs. I forget what the tree's called exactly, but it's where all the people that the Shrike kills are hung from.
Yes, that one, that tree plays in heavily in the second book, especially.
Yeah, but Kassad has seen that tree, so he knows which of the pilgrims are going to wind up on that tree.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, because it's aging backwards. So yeah, he's seen it, even though it happened in his past.
Yeah. So it's. But yeah. So we get that little hint there, and that gets brought up a few more times later on. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that's Martin's story. Yeah.
Yeah, Martin. I believe he's the only character to appear in all 4 books, if I remember correctly.
Was he? I thought it was.
He's definitely in Endymion. I don't remember if he's in the Rise of Endymion.
Because I'd have to reread them.
It's a weird series because we have Hyperion and the Fall of Hyperion, which happen almost concurrently, and then Endymion happens like thousands of years in the future.
Yeah, it is weird. But yeah,
so he pulls it off to a degree until the 4th book, but Endymion's a very good book.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. We get into the father's story.
Yeah, we get to Sol.
He's what is he? A scientist?
He's a professor.
Professor, that's right.
Yeah, I think
his daughter was a scientist.
Yeah, his daughter's a scientist. She's essentially like a cross between an archaeologist and a physicist. And basically, we get her story, Sol's story, where him and his wife struggle to have a child. They finally have one late in life. it's this girl named Rachel, and she's just the super smart child who they dote over. She goes off to college as a grad student, goes to Hyperion to study the time tombs because they're not off limits yet. And she meets this wonderful guy who she's going to marry while they're out there studying him. But then there's an accident.
Yeah, so everything's perfect up until, there's something happens, and she winds up in the hospital with a weird condition.
Yeah, she gets the Benjamin Button disease.
Yeah, she starts aging backwards. They notice.
But as we said earlier, is one of those things where she can live out a normal day, but as soon as she goes to sleep, she wakes back up and she's a day younger.
Yep. And so she's slowly losing her memories. She starts by doing having recordings of her future self, or I guess her future self.
Yeah, like a 51st dates kind of scenario, or a memento.
Yeah, she'll watch a video or something when she wakes up and kind of pick up on this is what I lost from last time, but it's she has the same reaction where she's crying every morning because she's confused and lost, and she returns home to live with Weintraub, and this is probably, I think it's probably the by far the most emotional story in the whole thing, because it's just depicting a father watching his daughter slowly die.
Yeah, so where you could say the other stories had horror elements, well, this does have a horror element. It's more of a emotional roller coaster than a horror. It's a horror like what would happen if this happened to your child, kind of thing. As as I said, Saul, he has to end up taking those life enhancing things because even though he can't really afford it because they don't want to die before their daughter, they don't even know what, before she just disappears. And what do you do when they wake up and it's their 21st birthday, and then they wake up?
They should be 35 at that point.
Yeah, 35 at that point, but then they wake up the next day and it's the day before their 21st birthday. And all her friend, what do you do? Because she still has memories of all her friends, but they're all adults. And
she's talking about 21-year-old things, like going out drinking, partying, and going on adventures, and they're all settled down with families, and it's very tough for everyone, because she doesn't quite understand what's going on because she has to be reminded every day, and she eventually says stop, and the friends, they're like, this is just too weird. The boyfriend, who obviously truly cared for her, can't handle it, and he has to walk away, even though he's still on the we learned that it becomes his life's devotion of figuring out how this happened, why it happened, how to stop it. Yeah, shows up when she's 10 years old, and he's completely heartbroken to see her.
And he's just destroyed because he can't figure out what to do with his life anymore, because obviously the girl he knew is gone. And
then Saul's wife dies when she's 6, so he's got to spend the last
and
6 years
that was heart-wrenching, because he tells his wife, go on a vacation. We haven't been able to do anything outside of raising our child in this really heart-wrenching way. Go on a vacation, go have some fun, take a few days off, because Saul had been taking time off here and there to do fundraising and get some find universities that are interesting. So he was still traveling, but he was able to get some time away. His wife had never had a day away from their daughter.
And Rachel, once it got caught on, Rachel's become a celebrity because she's the woman who's aging backwards.
Yeah, so they end up going. Apparently, the Jewish community has their own planet. They're able to they block off from all other people being allowed to go to, even though they have farcasters to it. They end up going there. The wife goes on vacation and dies. And it was just one of those things now what? Because Saul feels like it's his fault because he's the one that insisted that she go out with her sister, and it was one of those things that was supposed to be something really safe, and it turned out that there was a malfunction.
And his wife's idea had been bring Rachel to the time tombs and offer yourself as sacrifice. And
because they've been having these weird dreams where this strange voice says, if you want to save humanity, sacrifice your daughter, which is a very religious Old Testament thing, sacrificing your children, as anyone that's ever had Bible class knows. So and Saul is saying no, but right before she died, they knew they were having dreams. They figured out they were having dreams. They thought they were the same, but it turns out they're different dreams. So Saul kind of loses faith again in the dreams and holds off again. And basically we get down to where Rachel has become an infant, and he's like, we literally have weeks before she is no longer born, and what happens then.
And they're like not allowed to go on the pilgrimage at first, but then he hops on like a talk show and starts talking about it. She's like, she's gonna be dead in 5 weeks, and you're not allowing me to go on this pilgrimage that takes 3 weeks. So if we waste any more time, she's gonna die, and like it'll when she could have been possibly saved.
Yeah, and the Shrike Church had basically banned him because he'd been earlier in the story. He had been going to them demanding answers because they are the ones that control the time tombs and worship the Shrike, and they know something connected with all that. And he was trying to get just access to the time tombs because they had, after the accident, they had basically started shutting down access because then the time waves were acting weirder and weirder, and they said, yeah, it's not safe to be there, caught in there anymore. And because typically what happens if you get caught in these time waves, you just disappear or turn to bones or something. This is the only time that something like this had ever happened, and no one knows why, but the Shrike Church, like, nobody's allowed there anymore. That's just for Shrike pilgrimages.
Yeah, so he kind of muscles his way onto the pilgrimage with Rachel, and it's like his last gasp attempt to save his daughter's life. So yeah, it's we kind of glazed over it, but it's like 100 pages of the book of just really sad storytelling.
Yeah, it is. So this is where we get a lot of the background information, or just the hegemony, and what the world is actually kind of like.
And you get, it's still some like, some people don't change kind of thing. Like, oh, there's this kind of freak show going on. Everyone's gonna obsess over it and stop and watch it. And so, like, they wanted to keep the daughter's illness a secret, but it eventually got out because the neighbors started talking, and and rather than trying to hide, though, he tried embracing it and seeing if that would help. But then, he's spent the last 10 years of his life in the public spotlight when really all he cared about was saving his kid.
Yeah, so at this point in the story, they are on Hyperion, as we said. They've gone. The world is just weird. Like, they're sailing on a sea of grass.
Yeah, and an airship that kind of glides over the grass.
Yeah, and they're being piloted by androids, and Het Mastine looks like he is brutally murdered, destroyed, just a blood smear in the whole room.
Yeah, also, before he gets that happens, the ousters destroy the tree ship that he is supposedly life-connected with. And, he looks kind of devastated, but we find out at the end that the consul notices that he's not nearly as devastated as he should be.
Yeah, he should have died when the ship was destroyed because the connection is so...
So there's a little mystery set up for the next book over, what is going on with Het Mastine, because we don't get his story. We get very little details about him. We know that he's a super tall Templar.
Yeah, which is kind of like, again, think Japanese folklore kind of stories with the tree of life stuff. And he has this giant, really heavy case that they find out has essentially one of the world-destroying weapons on it.
It's a Mobius cube.
Yeah, and it's basically, he's also there to, sounds like, destroy the Shrike.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery surrounding that. So if this book does not tie up its loose ends here, so
just
definitely makes you want to read
just like the poem Hyperion and the Canterbury Tales.
Exactly. Yeah, the Canterbury Tales just abruptly ends. It's they never actually arrive at their location. But yeah, they decide to keep pushing on, even though one of them has disappeared, and since there's no longer... They just said Rachel doesn't count as a seventh person, so there's only 6 people, so they're like, okay, we're just going towards our deaths now. But they decide to carry on.
Yeah, and they get to the port where they realize there's no people around. They have to get on another ship, and then the androids leave them. Or maybe that was... maybe I'm confusing, but they get on this other ship that's just automated, takes them to another port. Then they have to get on this gondola type thing, and... It's everything they can do, Kasad can do not to get left behind, because it's supposed to never stop running because the top of it will freeze because it's at the top of a mountain, but they're able to get it going again.
Yeah, and supposedly the consul, they keep asking him if he has, the ability to summon his ship, because he's supposed to be connected with that somehow, but he keeps saying that there's no there's no Wi-Fi up here, we can't do it.
So now we get Lamia's
Bron
story.
Lamia's story. She's a private detective,
she's from a planet where the gravity's was it 1.3 or 1.4 times Earth.
Yeah,
so she's squat and
built like a dwarf.
Yeah, built like a dwarf, and
like a Tolkien dwarf, not like a dwarf. Anyway, she looks like Gimli, but without the beard.
Yeah. So we get her story where she's private detectiving on her planet, and this guy named Johnny shows up, who's clearly not from the planet, but does not show any signs of discomfort, says, "I need you to help solve a murder." And when she asks whose murder, he says, "Mine."
Yeah, which if you ever seen Altered Carbon, I'm like, oh, that's where they got that idea.
Yeah, so.
But the Braun is obsessed with Johnny. He's fucking smoking hot, sexy dude.
Apparently, John Keats was a very sexy man back in the day.
Yeah, I was reading this part. I'm like, all right, calm down, Dan Simmons. I know you like Keats, but you're like, oh god, he's so hot. I can't even think straight. He's so good looking. Oh my god.
Firm, settle down.
Yeah. It's like,
but yeah, so we find out that John Keats is actually a AI personality that they brought back from all the writings of John Keats.
Yeah, so he's very clear to say, like, I am not John Keats. I am a recreation of John Keats based on his writings. So I am not, like, I bear things in common with him. My appearance is, exact, but I am not him.
Yeah, and we find out that he was murdered per se, in that his AI had a cyber attack-esque thing where his body had been shut down for 2 minutes.
Yeah, which is, but he lost 5 days of information. Yeah,
which in computer terms is an eon and an eternity, because they move so much faster than human brains do. So he's like, yeah, if essentially I was murdered, I'm missing all these days, I need to figure out what was going on. Oh, by the way, I think they're still after me to get me again. So then we get shenanigans of that. And at this point, I realized there's some stories. So all six of these stories are told from the perspective of the storyteller, even though it has the console recording them, somehow. The stories are not all in first person. Some are in first person, some are in third.
Yeah, that's him. I think Simmons flexing his writing, because the first one is made in diary entries, like you might get from like a Dracula style storytelling, and then there's like Assad, I think, is third person. Silenus is first person. Hoyt's is Weintraub's is, I think, third person, right?
Yeah, third person.
Lamia's is first person.
Yeah.
We get to the console, he like bounces between past and present tense. It's a really cool he's just flexing, like every skill he has, he's throwing into this book, and it's really impressive. I always like saying, like, when someone says something stupid, I'll be like, weird flex, but okay. This one is a really cool flex of his
weird flex, but awesome.
Yeah, weird flex, but awesome. He's incorporating different storytelling styles, which you see in the Canterbury Tales. Like, it's not all like Chaucer. He changed it up with each character. Like, everything has a very distinct voice.
Yeah, and in this story, they all have very distinct voices, very distinct writing styles between each story.
And this one plays out like a classic hard-boiled detective fiction, because that's essentially what it is. And like when Silenus was talking, it was very, like, he's a very vulgar and drunken person, and it plays out like a vulgar, drunken rambling. But very poetic too. Yeah. Vulgar, drunken, poetic rambling, and then when we get to the console story, he's a very reserved person, and he tells a very short, concise story after he plays the recording that he plays.
Yeah, but we get Lamia's, and like we said, hard boiled, and it's kind of turning the whole genre on its head, having the hard-boiled detective being a woman. And while you'd say, well, yeah, she's also a very strong woman because she's dwarf, like, well, yeah, it's on her planet, they're all like that, so it said it shouldn't matter. But since she's facing off mostly off-worlders, she has just the strength of like 3 men.
And we see that too, like when because her and Keats inevitably start hooking up, and like they get attacked while they're in bed together, and like her naked.
She takes on the very masculine roles.
Yeah, she just totally naked decimates 4 armed men who come to kill her.
And come to kill him.
They come to kill him, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're bouncing between worlds. They go to the world tree to do a tour.
And she's got like a friend in IT named BB who's helping him out.
Yeah, he's a cyberpunk type dude. And basically, it reads like a noir action story, very, very straightforward. We find out that the AIs are basically their own faction, and how much of a faction they are, but they also within their faction have 3 factions: the pro-humans, the anti-humans, and the ambivalents. And they're all fighting each other, trying to figure out what to do with humanity. And we find out that they actually saved Earth and they have all these essentially AI humans running around from different eras in time, like Keats, because humans had tried to do that, make a biological version of famous people, and the people end up, the clones end up just going crazy. But the robots seem to figure out how to get around that to some extent, especially with John Keats. He seems to be their most successful science project, but he's able to get them out of harm's way for a little while by going to this New Earth type place where they have basically his era. Was it London?
Yeah, it's like basically it's like a recreation of London.
Yeah, from when he was alive, but empty except for like a couple of other CPU people that are just, but then they realize they had to hide from the AIs that want to kill him because they want to kill all of humanity. And there's something going on with the time tombs, and there's a big crux of something's big is going to happen at the time tombs. And when it does, the computers don't like humans because they can't predict to the 100th% future. They're like 99.8%, and the time tombs is a big part of that. So they're like, how do we basically they're there to, we want to be able to have a predictable future, 100% predictability. How do we do that? Do we keep the humans? Do we wipe them out? But something with the time tombs, and Keats, they found out, was going to go to the time tombs for some reason, and therefore he needs to be taken out because he's going to set something off.
He knows something that he shouldn't know, so we need to take care of him. Which, quick pause, the amount of talk about AI in this book, like back in '89, like I know like Terminator had come out at that point, and like AI was kind of like a new and emerging technology, but like it's very, I don't know, timeless conversation. Like
he nailed this. I couldn't believe like how well he nailed computers and how we would actually end up incorporating them into our lives.
Yeah, like I mean, computers been around for a while by '89, but
not
not the level at which we have them now. Like we can do literally everything on our phone, and like he's like in 40 years before that happens, he's kind of got his finger on that pulse, and he knows it's trending in that direction.
Yeah, with the whole AI word processing thing they got going now with ChatGPT and all that stuff, Simmons basically predicted that as the first stepping stone into conscious machines.
Yeah, and like like I said, Terminator had come out at that point, and it's and that was like one of the original like AI's taken over the world kind of movies, but he's taken it even step further, and you see, because like with those movies, you see the end result, like, oh yeah, Skynet decides that humanity is the problem and go to eliminate them, but like this is like seeing that like that steadier growth almost, where we we are becoming increasingly more reliant and like attributing more human aspects to artificial intelligence.
I think he was closer to like the Asimov or Herbert, but not Dune Herbert idea of computers. But even like Ian M. Banks, who I think was putting his early culture books out just before this book came out, of how smarter than human computers are going to be. So, I mean, he says people have been thinking about this for decades before him, but said a lot of times, like Asimov, you look at what he predicted robots would be, and we're nowhere even close to that, and we're probably going to skip over that. And like we used to, everyone for the aughts was really big on the 3 laws of robotics to prevent robots from killing humans. Yeah, that's not even mentioned anymore 2 decades later. Now that we're at that point where we should probably be implementing those rules, and we're like, it doesn't really apply anymore.
Yeah, it's I don't know, very, what do you call it, predictive of where humanity's trending to with their reliance and relationship with technology.
But yeah, so they end up getting to John Keats. There's this big battle at the end that's probably the weakest, my thought was the weakest point in the book for action-wise.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to follow, too, and like the revelation of why they were trying to kill Keats was kind of muddled, but essentially, like, you find out that the hegemony was responsible for the death of old Earth. Yeah,
and that they're trying to start the war with the ousters.
Yeah, it's like this is an intentional thing. Like we caused the black hole that destroyed the world, and also we want the ousters to attack us.
Yeah, because we need a boogeyman to gain more power, essentially.
Yeah, which is a very that's a very common storytelling thing where like it's like, oh, you need to distract your people, start a war kind of deal.
Yeah, so John Keats doesn't really die. He uploads his consciousness into a chip that's embedded in Lamia's skull, so she's also carrying 2 people, just like Hoyt is.
Yeah, so he's got the chip, and she's also pregnant.
Yeah, she's also pregnant, so it's kind of a soul scenario too, with carrying an extra person.
Yeah, and her quest is similar to Hoyt's, where she wants to get these things out of her.
Yeah, she's basically trying to finish. She's not really clear what Keith's mission was, but he told her, "Get me to the time tombs. I need to go there." So she's like, "I'm just going to complete that."
Yeah.
So she has no real wish. And when they get to the end of her story, I forget if it was either there or the console story, but they all kind of agree that, yeah, all of us, our wishes are kind of selfish. If we have a choice in the matter, all of our wishes should be to help Rachel. You know, especially the ones that, like I said, it didn't sound like Silenus was still going to wish for his story. Casado was still going to battle, but everyone else is like, yeah, no, Rachel's the important one here.
Yeah, they decide, we're gonna do what we can to save Rachel
because she's the one true innocent out of that whole group. The rest of them,
even
when she are just selfish.
Yeah, even when she was pushing 30, when she first got sick, she was innocent. She was just studying and
she was still basically still a student and loving life and just living life to the fullest. And so everyone else was selfish, where she was trying to better humanity. But so we get to the last story. They watch a space battle from a mountaintop, and they're looking down at the time tombs. And they're like, yeah, tomorrow we're gonna be at the time tombs and we all die. And Console's like, well, I guess I'll tell my story then if I must. And he pulls out a recording, and Silenus gets all whiny because so I thought I'm the only one that can tell a story here, damn it. And
Console gets he suddenly shows some emotion, and he attacks Martin, pushes him against the wall, and says, "Shut the fuck up, boy."
Yeah, but so we get a story, and we're on a planet, and
it's titled "Remembering Siri," which I have a Samsung, so I have never met Siri.
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, I wonder if that's where they got the name Siri from for the thing. Because like how Barnes and Noble had that the Nook.
Yeah,
that's from Dr. Seuss.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a something one of Dr. Seuss's made up words that in one of his stories.
He made up the word Nook.
Well, it was like something with a rhyming scheme.
All right then.
So, but yeah, I forget which book it was from, but it wasn't one of his popular ones, but one that still a lot of people know of. But yeah, it was. I'm reading it was a creature.
Oh, interesting.
A creature that reads books.
Okay.
A Nook who has a hook to read a book, but a Nook can't read, so I forget the whole rhyme. But yeah, it's a book reading creature called a Nook.
Okay. That's where they come up with Reading Nook. All right, yeah. I get it now.
But anyway, so we get to the console story. We're on this basically Hawaii type world where you have islands that float around in the ocean and are pushed around by intelligent dolphins, and people are living symbiotically with the thing. And we have this guy, the spaceman, who is on a crew that are setting up a Farcaster.
Yeah, his name's like Marin or something like that.
Yeah,
Marin.
And him and a friend,
Mike,
are on shore leave, and they're not supposed to mingle with the natives, but they're like, you know what, there's this giant month-long party where everyone's just having a giant orgy, we're gonna go to it. So they get a legitimate flying carpet that through science they had made these flying carpets, but they're unstable, so they're supposed to be illegal, but this guy somehow found one, flies it out to the island where they're all having a party, and they're dressed up in these costumes, and Marin finds this girl, and they basically have a 7-day or whatever sex-a-thon where they party. And
a little cringy. Siri is 16 when they first meet, but
cringy, but at the same time it's like it sounds like he's only like 19, even though he's paying these huge time debts.
Yeah, he's working on the outer planets.
Yeah,
so
and it's
so
and it's one of those things. It's really cringy, but it's like he's clearly straight out of high school. She's more worldly than he is, kind of thing. So it's cringy, but still kind of works, especially for the time period this was written in.
Yeah,
and
we don't judge. Well, a little bit. Anyway.
Not too heavily.
Yeah, it's all fictional characters. Yeah. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah. Anyways, so they have this week-long fling. His friend Mike gets murdered, and it's partially Marin's fault. He has to escape real quick. He does. The girl is devastated because he's abandoning her. She's begging him to stay, that they can just have a life together, because she's well-to-do. Her father is like the tribal leader or whatever. His corporation picks him back up and says, yeah, we should just throw you out the airlock in space for what you did, because you're causing us all sorts of headaches, and no one would question us if we did that. But we're going to keep you alive because the girl's father told us to keep you alive. We find out why. pretty quickly because he's being flown back to wherever the Farcaster network is going to get more supply. So he's going into a time debt, and to fly there and back is 7 years her time.
Yeah.
And
it's a couple weeks for him.
Yeah, 2 weeks for him, seven years for her. He comes back in 7 years and realizes he has a son.
Yep. So he's got a son. She's all of a sudden in her 20s. He's still in his late teens. Essentially, when he turns 24, his service that he's been conscripted to will end, and he's gonna come into a ton of money.
Yeah. Basically, you get like a 70 or 80 year time debt, but so everyone is gone and dead, but you're gonna basically become a millionaire when all said and done. So it's a lot of young people will sign up for it, saying, "Yeah, who cares if I have nobody left when I go home? I'll be rich enough I can buy friends." Well, he realizes as he's doing this and seeing this girl age, who he's still madly in love with, even though for her it's clearly a one-sided relationship where he's just there for he realizes there's some sort of connection, but basically he's just there for the sex. She's turned him into some sort of deity, demigod type thing for her people. So he's always basically every time they go back to the planet, he has to go to the planet and be with her because they all kind of worship him, the people.
Yeah, and he can never understand why she doesn't want to leave the planet. Like he's still this young kid, and he thinks like, oh, I'm traveling, I'm being worldly, I'm exploring the universe around me. And then he's got this person back home who just seems content to be living in her world. And he can't seem to understand that. He refers to her as primitive and uncultured.
And again, you get very Hawaiian vibes from this. So think like if you're not clued into that culture, like Maui, the movie Moana. And just that whole, you're in paradise. Why would you want to leave?
You're in paradise. Your culture is very family oriented and cultivating the land in which you are born into. So that's her lifestyle, and she's comfortable with that and content living that way.
Yeah, and so she is kind of a big deal. She becomes the leader of the people there. But she also starts questioning this Farcaster thing. Why do we actually want it? What is it going to do for us? And we find out that it really is a capitalistic terror that's coming to them, that their way of life is going to get destroyed. The intelligent dolphins are going to get destroyed. The islands are going to get destroyed. It's just going to become a touristy spot where, Hawaii kind of has become now. Where
and you see that with in Wine Shop's story, that was a big thing. They didn't want to. He was living in an area where they didn't want to bring attention to Rachel because they would install a Farcaster and become a tourist attraction. And so Farcasters are kind of renowned for destroying cultures because it also becomes a tourist location.
That's also hegemony.
Yeah.
And basically they're trying to make everyone's. They don't outright say it because there is no America, but that's kind of that's what they're going for, is the ultra capitalistic, everybody same culture, even if you have a million different backgrounds, and it's basically taking it to an extreme and showing how bad that extreme is. So Marin ends up having 2 kids with this girl, and we're jumping back and forth. Where
most importantly, though, is his older son Donnell.
Yeah, Donnell. Well, we find out ends up dying young, and he's devastated, even though they never had much of a connection because basically his children are older than he is.
Yeah, there's a weird conversation because he's 18 and Donnell looks like he's in his 40s, 50s, and at that point Siri is put over 70.
Yeah, but basically he goes back, and basically the story's kind of jumping a little bit because it's her funeral, so he's gone back for her funeral, and everyone's waiting for him. And we get this bit of the story where also we get her perspective as he's listening to a Star Wars style projection thing where he kind of sees her through the different ages that he missed, and it's
he realizes what he put her through.
Yeah, it's you got the bit where he left her initially. He's I hate you, I never want to see you again. How dare you just abandon me? And then when her first child was born, it's how much I love you and I miss you, and I'm sorry I turned you into this icon to my people, but hopefully we can see each other again. Basically, we need to stop this Farcaster from coming here because it's going to destroy us as a people. And even though you're an outsider, only you can do this. And please, let this convince you that this is the way. And basically he takes that as, for in her memory, I'm going to start a resistance against the hegemony and start a revolution, where his son had died, his oldest son had died, and fighting it, and basically all the dolphins get killed, the islands are polluted and struggle to move anymore. And
and at that point the consul kind of ends that recording, and was like, it's kind of implied that he is Marin, but we learn that he's actually the grandson of Marin.
Yeah, from the second kid.
Yeah.
Because the first son died before he had kids. The second son did have kids, and he died. And the second, and the big fight with where the hegemony came in and wiped out a whole group, the whole group of people, kind of the Qassad butchery style fighting, which is kind of hinted that he may have been one of the people that went down there and killed all those people, because that was kind of his job.
Yeah, and we kind of then the consul basically admits that he is in fact a spy for the Ousters, but he also he's a triple agent, because he's acting on his own accord, because he played his grandmother's story because he wants to carry out her wishes, and his ultimate goal is not to assist the Ousters or the hegemony. He wants to basically unleash the Shrike to punish humanity.
Yeah, he wants to take revenge on everyone for destroying his culture.
Yeah. So that's like his goal is to basically just punish all the Ousters,
because he goes very briefly into his career, his rise to power, because basically his father capitulates eventually, is able to maintain some sort of governorship. He becomes a diplomat for the hegemony and rises through the ranks very rapidly until he becomes the consul to other worlds, where he puts in Farcasters to connect their worlds, destroying their civilizations, and him just basically playing the long games. Like, don't worry, I'll get your revenge for you eventually, even though I'm here, the one destroying you. Because if it wasn't me, it would be someone else.
Yeah, because he, and like the consul is basically just like, he becomes an agent for both, so that they can give him the tools.
Yeah, but they eventually make him a representative to talk to the Ousters, because hegemony, Gladstone wants to start the war, so she's trying to goad them into it. So he's kind of the vehicle for that. He spies on them, and he does the double agent thing, giving back stuff. He's the one that helps pick out the targets for the Ousters to destroy that get Qassad wounded, and sends them to time tombs. He's the one that sends them to the time tombs, and he's the one that's sending the hegemony to the time tomb, saying, this is the big battle point, and his plan is to go down the time tombs, release the Shrike, kill everybody, and destroy all of human society. Yeah,
so it's the big reveal at the end, because the consul's kind of the audience surrogate. He's the first character we meet, and there's probably the most amount of mystery around him. So it's there's no like central main character, but he's like the one that you initially meet. So he's
the one that kind of combines all the stories.
Yeah, he brings it all together, ties it all up, and they kind of debate whether they want to kill him or not, but they decide to just carry on.
Because he's like, you know what? Rachel's more important. We're gonna save her.
Yeah.
And you get a kind of a Wizard of Oz scene where they're all skipping down the yellow brick road to go to the Wizard of Oz and
they're going,
release the Shrike.
Yeah. They're going down into the valley to enter the time tombs. That's how the story ends. Yeah. They hear Saul singing to his kid, and he's singing, "We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz," and this is 500 years after that movie came out, and it no longer really exists.
Probably
that song,
closer to like 1,000 years.
Yeah,
after
that song has somehow survived in Saul Weintraub's household, and so they hear him sing it, and he's desperately trying to explain the plot to the Wizard of Oz to them, and it's not really working out. But he just ends up kind of giving up and singing the song.
And they're all singing it because they realize baby Rachel is enjoying the song, and
it's just like a moment of, I guess, peace between all of them, because they all have had a contentious relationship throughout the whole thing,
and then they all know they're going to die, essentially.
Yeah, so they're singing a silly song as they march towards their deaths, and that's how the story ends.
So, final thoughts, Alex?
I think we said at the beginning, this is a masterpiece of sci-fi. The Fall of Hyperion is definitely worth the read. I actually enjoyed Fall of Hyperion more than the first book. The only time I've read it.
Well, maybe you'll have to pick that one for a later season, Alex.
Yeah, maybe we can revisit these characters. It would be fun to do some sequels. But yeah, I mean, it's just like it won the Hugo in 1989 and very well deserved.
Yes. So you look at old Hugos. Like I've decided I haven't started yet because I got so many books in my TBRs, but I bought a bunch of the early Hugos. I'm gonna try to go through the years of the Hugos because the last, I guess, 2-3 years now of Hugos are just annoy me. It's like these aren't groundbreaking things. Hyperion is a groundbreaking science fiction story.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
treading
read too
on
many, but
it's
yeah,
just treading on old stories of Canterbury Tales and Keats, but like I said, how many stories since then can be tied back to this book, for ideas that they took from.
Yeah, the amount of like references we made just in the last hour and a half describing this book, like stuff that came out after and like what he pulled from like before the book came out, like it's the command over like the English language and the understanding of quality storytelling. It's truly amazing how well done this book is.
Yeah, so this is a really good book. Definitely worth a read. Definitely should be mentioned more often as top tier sci-fi, S tier sci-fi books worth reading, series worth reading. So my top doesn't break my top 3, but it's definitely high up there. I can't tell you we're in the top 10, but it's definitely, you need to read this before you die if you like science fiction at all.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's in a class all its own for writing because there's a lot of schlock out there, and sometimes like world building can be clumsy. I always found like Frank Herbert to be kind of a clumsy writer, even though his world building was quite excellent. His characters and his storytelling abilities were kind of, I don't know, flagging, I think, or lagging. But this one, it really does it all. It has excellent world building. It has three-dimensional characters. The storytelling itself is truly unique. Like, you don't see this style of storytelling in sci-fi. It's usually linear, or it's like it's all takes place in one setting. This one, like the storytelling at all, like you have, like I said, 40 pages of like what's happening in the moment, and the rest of it's all what happened in the past, but he somehow manages to tell a complete story that's all tied together and delivers. It's truly amazing, like how he did it.
The fact that he was able to, out of his 4-book series, still have 2 more of these after this one succeed in being good storytelling, especially after the way he did this one, because he can't just keep doing, I'll have 6 or 7 stories within a story. He has to now move forward with, okay, now we got to actually move the story forward.
He like goes really big in the next couple books.
But so the fact that he was able to do that is basically very hard to do. It's something most people would fail at.
Yeah, and it's like really smart. Like there's clear, like the next couple books have huge casts of characters. This one, he just has his 6 focal points, and he sticks with that, but you still learn about other important characters in the future, because Rachel becomes a very important plot point in the second book. Maina Gladstone, I think, becomes a very major focal point. Who Rachel is in relation to those stories is actually like really interesting. At the end of the second book, there's a huge plot twist. I won't give it away in case we do Fall of Hyperion at some point. Yeah, it's really interesting.
It won't be a bonus book.
Yeah.
Alex is struggling to keep up with the main feed of books here, so.
Yeah, this one took me a while to read. I was like going like really hard trying to read it. It still took me a long time.
Yeah, so I got some questions for you, Alex.
All right.
Why were these specific seven people chosen for the Shrike pilgrimage? Because remember, these weren't. It wasn't like, yeah, let's put in for a lottery. The Shrike Church said, we're going to pick you as the last. And none of these people are Shrike believers, or before you had to be a Shrike believer to be able to go on pilgrimage. But the Shrike Church chose these 7 people.
Yeah, I think there's some mystery around how they choose it. Obviously, like, Saul Weintraub basically bullied his way on. The consul got in because of his connections with both the Ousters and the Hegemony. Kassad, military commander, a lot of power and influence. Like, all these people have some form of power and influence to get into there. I don't know how Lamia somehow snuck in there too.
Well, because Keats was already supposed to be on the
That's true,
pilgrimage.
yeah. So she took his spot. So yeah, they all, and like Silenus is a celebrity poet, so they all had some sort of power and influence to get onto the ship.
And they all had a history with the Shrike too.
And even Mastine, even though we didn't learn much about him, like he was the ship's pilot.
Yeah, basically that was his passage to get on the crew. Was I have the ship that can get everyone there. The only ship that can do it with a war brewing.
Yep. So I think even with the cult and the church, like I think that's just kind of like maybe a little knock on organized religion, because it's like money and influence still carries a huge weight over like true belief.
Mm-hmm. Whose tale was your favorite and why?
It's got to be Weintraub's. Like that was probably the one we spent the least amount of time on, but it's just such an emotional battering ram of like it hits you right in the feels, because I don't know, it's like you get like Kassad's story right before it, and it's very big otherworldly, a guy like coming into his own, and he's this, I guess, problematic character because he's this butcher, but he also has like this, deep burning desires within, and you got to kind of like find some humanity in him. But then like Weintraub comes in, and like he's just this like really humble, down to earth guy who, like a normal person, who gets his world totally turned upside down, and you just kind of like, I think that's the most complete character development of like anyone else on the pilgrimage, because it's just like, I don't know, it's just a story of a father. It's like that always gets you in the feels.
I kind of liked Martin's story the most, just because the way the storytelling style.
Martin, remembering back to when I read the whole series, Martin was my favorite character, and I'd say like, it was like Weintraub had the best story, but Martin, I think, especially in like the second and third books, like he's a favorite. He's always fun to see when he pops in, because he's funny and he's brash. He makes good points badly, and it's
you can definitely tell Simmons is definitely really stretching his abilities to write in that style to the max. It's not so, yeah, especially that, just the way he told the story with that brashness but still poetic feel to it, where everyone else is, again, 6 stories, 6 different styles of telling tales, and this one's very it's just poetic, where it has a real rhythm to it, and the way he's talking.
Yeah, he took his time with that one for sure. Whereas like, I don't know, Lamia's like the hard-boiled detective fiction, like you don't spend as much time on that, and that's almost by design, so it comes off a little rougher around the edges. And yeah, you see that with her story.
Do any particular tales seem more important than the others? I know we kind of said Duré's and Hoyt's story seemed like the least important, which was good, which is why they put it first, because it just introduces us to the world.
Yeah, it's still important because Hoyt, he plays an important part in the whole idea of eternal life and whatnot, and like the penalties that come with that. Like it really, like, that's clearly an important story, and there's a reason it came first. I wouldn't say any one is more important than the other. I think if you take anyone out, the story falls apart, because their stories are interconnected as they go along, even though like they are just meeting each other for the first time. They're all incredibly important to be in there, because we learn about the Shrike, we learn about the world, we learn about the characters, so they all have to be there, otherwise we don't get the full picture.
Why do you think people pilgrimage to the Shrike a near certain death sentence, and why do they use such religious phrasing?
I think it comes from a number of things: desperation, zealotry, and renown. Like, I was like, we are 7 of a entire universe of people that have been chosen for this. So yeah, it gets your name in front of people's eyes. You get to possibly get what you most desire in the world, and if you die, what a way to go! You die a legend.
If you could be on the pilgrimage, Alex, would you go?
Probably not.
There's nothing you want that badly that's worth dying for?
No.
John Keats' poem Hyperion was unfinished. Were you satisfied with the ending of this book, the way they ended it?
Well, yeah, it's clearly set up for the sequel. I think he never like fully ends the story, even when we get into Endymion and Rise of Endymion. There's always, like, he never ties it up with a fine bow, and it's never a fully happy, satisfactory ending no matter what. I think that's by design, similar to I don't know, I've never read Hyperion, but I guess that's kind of similar to how that poem ends. But I'm happy with how it ended. I think the story is about the pilgrimage, and it ends when the pilgrimage is over. They're about
Do you
to
think it was
go
a little
in.
corny
And
ending it on the Wizard of Oz song?
I mean, it's a little corny, obviously. I think he kind of stretched it there with taking a story, a song from a story that should have been long ago forgotten.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's I think it gives you a sense of hope almost as they're marching towards their deaths. That because like they've all told their stories, and like they all hated they all hated each other, but they are unified in the end in their common expedition.
So I thought overall he did a good job. Dan Simmons did a good job weaving in old Earth time, people or events with stuff that hasn't happened to us yet. Kind of the make believe, fantasy history until he got to that, and then it kind of you just kind of ruined it a little bit. But I mean, I get why you would pick that song, but at the same time, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I would have. There's got to be a different song or some way to unify them, because the Wizard of Oz is not mentioned at all in the story.
Yeah,
and then it just comes out of nowhere.
You almost like no, obviously not this, but the national anthem would almost be a better, yes, it's not that, but something like along those lines where you could see that surviving, or maybe like Yankee Doodle kind of thing.
Yeah, just say something a little more folkloric. I mean, we're off to see the wizard. It's he's kind of making fun of the nonsense of it and how just silly and pointless it is. And it's a very fitting song for the ending. But yeah, just it does kind of take you out of it a little bit.
So we were introduced to dozens of planets out of hundreds of planets possible. Would you want to live in this world, and which planet, inside or outside the world web, would you want to live on? I
don't remember with the planet names or anything, but I mean, I was interested in Silenus's house with it's got 26 rooms on 25 planets.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty cool. I'd do that.
Yeah, I think being in the world would be pretty horrible, because it sounds like it's pretty superficial overall.
Yeah, kind of like we were talking about with the consoles story. The tourism and capitalism have essentially destroyed everything that was unique about the universe, and it's everybody's just more concerned about money and having that tourist experience is all just industry. And it's not fun to live in. It's just people looking to entertain themselves off of the suffering of others.
Okay, last question, Alex. This book is modeled after the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. How is Hyperion similar, and where is it deviate?
Well, I mean,
have you ever read the Canterbury Tales, Alex?
Yeah, I haven't read the complete tales. It's actually a lot of the Canterbury Tales that you find in bookstores. They're usually abridged editions, because he just kind of went on and on and on. But some are better than others, obviously. So this one has the clear ending. That's the big difference. And with Canterbury Tales are not as intertwined. And there's their pilgrimage isn't as no, they're not all going to the same place for different reasons. They're all going to the same place for the same reasons. And the stories in Canterbury Tales are all very different. They're all different depictions of the society they were living in at the time, and how the different professions played into it. And it was a different what do you call it, the writer's intention. This one was to tell a clear and concise story, whereas that one was to kind of almost have a diorama or panoramic of life in Chaucer's era. So that's the difference there, I think. And the stories ranged everywhere from comedy to drama to everything in between. Action stories, you had romance, you had people committing crimes, you had people solving crimes. It's a very all-encompassing story. Whereas this one, it's just more, why are they all on the pilgrimage? So it's not as broad, but at the same time it's broad in a different way, I guess, if that makes sense.
Okay. I haven't read it, so
yeah.
Probably won't.
Yeah. There's 3 stories from the Canterbury Tales that are just probably some of the best known stories. You got the Miller's Tale, the Wife of Bath's Tale, and the Knight's Tale. Those are probably the 3 most well known. So if you read any of them, read those 3.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. So yeah, that is Hyperion by Dan Simmons.
Yeah, I think I left it at 4 stars on Goodreads.
I think I did
first
too.
read. I was honestly 4.5. though. Like I would round up on that one. I rounded down, but I should have rounded up. I should make it a 5-star book.
Yeah, I think when I originally
of that
read it, it was
quality.
like, yeah, this is pretty good. But I think I was still young enough. I missed a lot of the the things that really take it above and beyond. I was just reading it as a fun action story, science fiction story, which again is definitely 4-star version worthy of it. But I think like we said, this is a 5-star book in content for just writing ability and storytelling as a whole.
Yeah, you don't see books like this come around very often. This is like a generationally good book.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's probably not the best, as well known as it should be. As I said, the science fiction genre has a lot of competition. It's a lot of really good authors. Ian M. Banks, I'm paraphrasing here, once wrote that people that write sci-fi don't know how to write but have really good ideas. People who write fiction know how to write but have no ideas, and that's why he writes both. Obviously, Dan Simmons has both, so...
Yeah, he's written detective fiction. He's written.
Well, I mean, just in
in
this story, he's showing that he has ideas and he knows how to write. And Ian M. Banks knows you even reading a science fiction, he knows how to write, because as we discussed with use of weapons, that's just probably one of the best, again, science fiction stories ever written.
Yeah, it's a truly mind-blowing book.
Yeah.
I think Dan Simmons will always be one of my favorite sci-fi writers. And I kind of talk shit where I've said this is the only like truly great masterpiece he ever wrote. But like a writer having even one masterpiece is usually a monumental achievement. So the fact that he's got this book and like a bunch of other really good books, I think there's a reason I've come back to him many times throughout my life.
Yeah, I mean, we were making fun of Flashback because that's definitely one of the worst books he's written that we've read anyways.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know. I was looking up, like, I guess the Hyperion Cantos, like, they've been optioned for movies and stuff, and, like, Guillermo del Toro's, like, been interested in creating it into a series. I don't know how you do some of the concepts, like, who Rachel is, like, how do you hide who she is throughout the story, but,
yeah.
Like having a...
Yeah, because, spoiler alert for those that want to read further in the series, Monette was Rachel.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to tell people that, but okay. Monetta from Cassad's story is Rachel from Weintraub's story. But they save her, and she goes back to her age. And
Well, I forget how it works all, but yeah,
it's getting there is the more important part. So still read it.
Yeah,
because I forget how they managed to do that, but it comes out pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah,
The sci-fi can be very rewarding, and there's very few who can write it well. And you see that when you read a lot of modern sci-fi.
And I think a lot of sci-fi that's written well is very hard to put on screen. I mean, look how long it took them to get Dune right.
Yeah.
I mean,
wasn't their first attempt either.
No. And look at how long it's taken for them to get Asimov's books successfully.
Have they even done that yet?
Oh, the Will Smith one was moderately successful.
iRobot?
Yeah.
Oh, that had nothing in common with the actual iRobot.
It's the short story, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the iRobot was based off a short story.
I know it was based off an Asimov story, but I wouldn't say it was a great book, great movie.
No, it wasn't a great movie, but at least they were successful and
I think I think movie making technology has finally caught up to sci-fi ideas.
Yeah.
So it's gotten a lot better because
I haven't seen the Foundation series that they have on, was it Apple TV?
Nah, I haven't seen it either.
But supposedly that they did fairly well on that. But I mean, that's got to be a tough one too, because the books are very dry, not a lot of action, and people want action. So so they've had to add a lot of stuff to those, I think.
Yeah, I was reading concurrently The Way of Kings with Hyperion.
Yeah.
And like so 1989 versus what was like 2010 when the first book came out. Like it's I don't know, it's a very different storytelling style, because like Brandon Sanderson's a good writer, but he's never written anything great like Hyperion, I would argue.
Yeah, I could see that. As we were discussing earlier, he's very commercialized, where Dan Simmons is very just literate.
Yeah, literary. They're both literate.
Yeah,
they can both read.
Yeah, they both read. I'm sure they both read a lot.
But there's things to like about the Stormlight Archive, but it's just not on that level.
It's like we've discussed earlier, reading Death on Demand. Sometimes you just need the easy, trashy read, and as long as it's written well and it's a good story, it can be a kind of not slop, but just a a beach read and still be amazing. And then sometimes you need a Hyperion or a high concept book that's really going to make you think, or like a Picture of Dorian Gray kind of book that's going to make you think and slow you down, and you really have to work through it, but it really stretches your mind. And then something, everything in between. When we get to some of these badly written books, like I'm trying to think of Stuffed.
Hey, you take that back.
Or it's just poorly written.
No. Having read a few other independently published living object romances, though, Stuffed is actually upper echelon.
I don't doubt
there's
it,
some
Alex.
really bad stuff out there. Like, it's all fun, like it's a good time, but yeah, it's I don't read it for the quality of the writing. I read it for the ridiculousness of the story, and it's that usually delivers pretty well.
Okay, well, this wraps up basically season 2 of Bookworms.
Yeah,
we are going to have a wrap-up episode where we go over some of our stuff, our hopes and dreams for the future. Yes, we're still hoping we win the lottery and can do this full time.
Or
probably never going to happen.
hoping I win the lottery and we don't have to do this ever again.
Wow, Alex! Wow,
boom, roasted. No, I would keep doing this until the money ran out.
Alex, it ran out on day 1.
Yeah. So if you want to support me, buy my books. If you want to support Joe, give the show money.
Yeah. Just
we'll take paper checks.
Yeah. Venmo me or whatever, and yep. Anyways, so yeah, we have no book announcement yet because we're gonna have because next month we're not going to do a book. We're going to do the wrap up episode. We will talk about what went well, what didn't go well, kind of some stats like we did last time, and then we'll
play a game or two.
Play a game or two. Well, hey Alex, maybe we should do one of those book games again.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, especially if I muff it up and just die like within the first 5 minutes again.
What review are we going to talk about?
Yeah, and then we'll get into what we're going to do for season 3. I can tell you right now, we've already picked out the books for season 3, and you're going to be excited.
Yeah, we got some doozies in there. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Alex is going to, I think, try to punch me. Do a kind of girly throw punch thing. But they can't really see it, but I think they get the idea.
Yeah, I threw in the sound effect there. Yeah. I just did it again.
Yeah, we have an Instagram. You can follow us there at Kendall Bookworms. You can DM us there if you want to talk to us. If you want to make a comment or leave a review, go to Spotify or Apple. Let us know what you thought. Tell us if you have any ideas for bonus books that we can do next season. We would love to do that. If you want to be on the show too, or if you're an author and want us to do your book and do an interview, we can do that. We will figure it out. Try and make it happen. If you want to email us, I have an email, kendallbookworms@gmail.com. Get a hold of me there. I do all the social media stuff. Alex doesn't. So you are talking to me.
Yeah, he'll. If you have a question for me, just direct it towards me, and I'll
let sure Alex know.
Yes.
We do read all of your comments. We are on YouTube.
If you want to hop on and call us characters.
Yeah.
That one guy.
Yeah. No video, but we do have the audio on that. If you want to check us out there, let's see. What else do we got going on? We're on Facebook at Kendall Bookworms. You can follow us there. I don't think we do too much there, but if people start getting active on that, we'll start doing that more. As Alex said, he has books for sale on Amazon.
Yeah, we got Paul Plimpton vs. Ragnarok and The Destroyer. I'm hopefully sometime soon. I got the sequel to The Destroyer. I got a re-release, so I'm going to start working on that pretty soon.
So look for that in the next 5 to 10 years anyways.
Exactly.
I am on Medium and Substack, where I write book reviews that we don't cover. If we get 100 reads on any books on Medium, Alex is going to have to read that book, and we're going to do a bonus episode on that. We got a couple episodes now that are getting up there for the reads. I don't know if we'll hit the 100 or not, unless if people want to, but one of those books is Between Two Fires, so go look that up on under Joe Kendall on Medium. There will be links to that also, either on the Facebook and Instagrams, on our link tree, I believe. We both have Goodreads if you want to follow us on that, see what we're currently reading, figure out which books are actually going to be on the podcast.
I'm currently reading Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. It's good so far.
Yeah, I'm reading a whole bunch of books, some better than others. But yeah, it's the. Let's see what else we got, Alex. Anything? Did I hit all the high spots?
I think you got it all.
Okay.
If you listen to previous episodes, and if Joe missed anything this episode, let us know in the comments.
Definitely check out our last bonus episode that we had put out. It is with Haley. She is amazing. We talk about her favorite all-time book, Braiding Sweetgrass. It is a fun conversation. I do apologize about the audio. When Alex is not here to be in charge of audio, it goes downhill fast.
Yeah, Joe handles the social media. I handle the audio quality.
And basically, I do the majority of the editing at this point.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I edit the books I choose, and you do everything else. I've done a few bonus episodes. If I come up with a bonus episode idea, I do the edit.
Yeah, which he purposely tries not to come up with too many.
Yeah. I choose the easier ones, like, let's do song lyrics again.
Yeah, I've been putting that one off because that was... I ended up doing the editing on that one. That was a long one to edit.
Yeah, it was we'll blame Adam though.
Yeah.
If you want Adam back on the show, don't. No, we love Adam. We'll happily have Adam back on the show.
Yeah, if he ever wanted to come back on again.
He hasn't wanted to be on the last 2 times. We still had him on.
Except that when he gets done, he's like, "That was a lot of fun. We should do that again."
Exactly.
Anyways, let's get out of here, Alex.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting with us through season 2. Tune in next time for the wrap-up episode. Until that time, I'm Alex.
And I'm Joe.
And this has been Bookworms.
Out.